Hello, everyone. I am Jeffrey Turner, aka Mega Jetty One, and welcome to the Cobra Kai Season 3 spoiler talk, I guess. I mean, I don't have anyone to spoil right now, but, I'll wait until my viewers and my guests show up. If I do get any guests, because I did send out invites, but, they could be busy or preoccupied right now. So, but yeah, I saw season 3, and I gotta say, I was not disappointed at all. Without giving too much away, I will say that the Cobra Kai video game did sort of tease elements of what was going to be in the season, but I won't say much on that. At least if I do say anything, I won't say anything right now. But yeah. All right. Oh. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Doing good.
Good.
How's it? So you just gotta finish up?
Yeah, we were just finishing up over there. Sorry.
No worries. I admit I was a little nervous there,
No, I just needed to hop on over here. So
Okay.
So how's it going?
It's going good. I'm just glad to be talking season 3 now.
Yeah. Totally fine. Anybody else coming in, or is it just us?
Well, right now it's just us, but I did send out invites.
All right, cool.
To Mecha Random, I sent one to World Class and Tugs and Steph from My Nerdy Home.
Cool.
So let me ask the first question.
Sure.
What would you say is the best part of the season in your opinion?
I really dug all the stuff we got to see in the episodes consisting around Okinawa, and probably the climax are probably the best bits.
Yeah, I cannot argue that.
How about you?
Definitely the climax. That's the thing that definitely sticks with me the most. I will say I did actually make a theories and speculations video a little while back of what I thought was likely going to happen. Some of my theories did come true, not all, but some. And I was impressed.
Yeah, I enjoyed this season much more than I did the first season. That's for sure. There was a lot of great stuff in there, and it really, brought a lot of the characters forward, gave a lot more dimension to some of the other ones. It was really neat to get to kind of go back and see what made Kreese in a lot of ways, even though that was one of the bigger gripes of some critics.
Mm-hmm.
I still felt it was done well. And again, I understand this isn't like high art. It's not like The Godfather or something like that, to where, it's not in this plateau of these great, cinematic features and stuff like that, or franchises, but it does have a place in Americana, especially. And I feel like the respect that the series has paid the original films is, it's just been brilliant. And the fact that the first 3 films specifically were a pretty unified voice. You had the same director, I believe even the same writer throughout all 3 of the first films. It was kind of neat to see how somebody else could finally take something from, the past and reinvigorate it in this way and do it in such a great way. And Rob, my co-pilot, has said it best many a time. He's like, the show is better than it has any right to be.
Oh,
and I don't even take that in any insulting way, in any form, because he's totally right. It's Karate Kid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it wasn't like supposed to be some kind of cinematic masterpiece. It was just supposed to be, cheesy yet fun to watch 80s sports movies.
Well, yeah, it's a young adult film. Let's be real. First movie is clearly that's what it is. It's, at the time it came out, I remember it got a lot of
a lot of hype.
Well, not just that, but I mean, it was always compared to Rocky.
Yeah,
That was the one thing that everybody said, "Oh, it's Rocky for kids."
and they
Uh,
kept that going in Cobra
yeah,
Kai.
and I resent and also agree with that at the same time. It's like it's not exactly like Rocky, but yeah, I get the
The
sentiment.
references, and well,
Yeah.
and another shared thing is the fact that both the Rocky movies and the Karate Kid films had the same music composer, Bill Conti.
Oh yeah, they have a lot of the same
Crew.
bloodlines. Well, for one, of course, the original director, who the name just escaped me for some reason, he directed the original Rocky. So like that was, of course, one of the comparisons from the start. But no, you're right. I mean, it really the Karate Kid series almost does feel like a companion too, in a weird way, because kind of like how boxing is taken so seriously in Rocky, it's kind of the same thing here with karate, and the way that the story is kind of around these elements, even though they're considered sports films. How little sports are actually in the movies too is also kind of funny. They remind me both of like Back to the Future in that sense. Like
Yeah,
everybody always calls them sci-fi fantasy films when it's like, no, really, they're just basically family comedies.
yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what it is. Like this is
Family
Karate Kid.
comedies with
Yeah,
sci-fi elements.
exactly. And same thing goes with Rocky and Karate Kid. Is they are, yeah, they're kind of like action slash sports films, but they're more dramedies or
Yeah,
dramatic, soap operas. And I hate using that word because it does have a negative connotation to it. But no, Cobra Kai is totally a soap opera.
yeah, yeah. There's nothing wrong with soap
No,
operas. It's just that there's good soap operas and there's bad soap operas, and then there's good soap operas that have bad moments, and then bad soap operas that have good moments.
absolutely. Yeah. And instead of just people trying to like poison each other or get somebody sent to jail or yelling at each other like they would in a soap opera, they just use their fists and do karate. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's the difference.
and some of them try to resist doing that for
Oh
as long
yeah.
as possible. But see, that's to me, that's one of the things I do like about Cobra Kai. At times, they save the real fights for like the end for like a big payoff. Because you remember? Have you ever seen the movie The Last Dragon?
Long time ago, but I think I know what you're getting to. But yeah, like the first two seasons, there was some karate bits where it's like, okay, there's they're starting to find reasons to just put karate in here. But I think you're right, and especially in season 3, they used it very sparingly,
Yeah,
and only when it seemed to be needed. But
yeah.
yeah, I don't know if that's what you're going to get at, but
Oh, kinda, because I know The Last Dragon. Basically, it was there was the feud was definitely meant to be Bruce Leroy and Shonuff, the Shogun of Harlem, and it was like he was like begging for a fight right from the moment he first entered the screen,
yeah.
but Bruce Leroy was like trying not to give him what he wanted. But it was basically so basically he had to go trash everything and everyone in his life, and it slowly built up to that epic battle at the end of the movie. Now, one exception I will admit is Demolition Man with Stallone and darn it, I can't remember his name now. I'm blanking right
Wesley
now.
Snipes. Yeah.
Wesley Snipes, yeah, Snipes. The Spartan and Phoenix, they kept having brawls all throughout the film, but each one was never quite the same. Like
Right.
sometimes Spartan won, sometimes Phoenix won. But like it was like it was building up also to that final battle that would truly
Mhm.
decide who is the better man.
Oh
So
yeah.
so it's like sometimes Cobra Kai does the Demolition Man way, and other times they do it the Last Dragon way.
Well, I mean, that's just it. You mean that's where this show asks you to have to suspend disbelief for certain things, and you allow it to, is because
Yeah,
let's be clear, like a lot of the karate that they do in this show, half the stuff they do would kill somebody.
yeah,
The other half would put somebody in the hospital, and
seriously, yeah,
yeah, and the other third of it is just for show.
yeah,
So I told going in, and again, I sound like I'm like being down on the show, but it's no, I'm kind of diffusing the whole. Like, look, I get it. It's not meant to be this high art, I think is what you put it in the beginning.
yeah.
But at the same time, it's just so brilliantly put
It,
together that you ask yourself, why isn't the more high art or the franchises that are considered more
high art
popular
on
or
this
what have
level.
you? Yeah, on this level, which you have to ask that because
Yeah,
there's no excuse for this.
Yeah, because I mean, when you
yeah,
look at Cobra Kai, and then you look at what's been done with, like, say, Star Wars and Star
yeah.
Trek, you wonder, what the hell, Hollywood? Why here's a clear, perfect example of how to do it right. Why are you not doing this?
And granted, yes, I understand certain parts of it may be that, guys like Ralph Macchio and William Zabka, they're at a point in their careers where they don't have the ego that certain other people may have in some of these other franchises.
Oh,
But all that shit
absolutely.
aside, to me, it really goes along with that saying. I think it was Tom Conkle who said it on our channel. If not, it was Gary Tunnicliffe who said, he was talking, he was worried about how one of his films was going to be received when it was released. And he's like, well, you just got to worry about competing with Avatar. He said, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, that's people pay the same amount of money to see Avatar that they're going to see your movie. So you better hope it's just as entertaining as Avatar.
Mm.
And I get that like sentiment, what he's saying. And that's where Cobra Kai is just as entertaining as Avatar for the price of, Cobra Kai.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. That the whole point of that is it doesn't matter how much you spend. It just matters on if you're entertaining your audience and you're giving them what they want. And I think they misunderstood the whole giving them what you want thing. Is doesn't necessarily mean you have to pay fan service and do the old cliches, but that also doesn't mean go to the extremes like they did with Star Wars to where you're literally tearing down your characters. And that's one great thing about Cobra Kai is that it's able to balance the classic with the new, and
Yeah.
especially the younger generation, because there is a lot of diversity in the cast and you don't see anybody talking about it because they don't sit there and virtue signal about it, and
No.
B, it's not distracting. So like even characters like Sam and Tori, who normally people will be like pointing fingers and go, oh, whammons, 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 nobody said anything yet,
No, no, no.
because they're well-rounded characters. Sam doesn't disrespect her father's legacy. I mean,
But
they have a
she's
complicated
not perfect
relationship.
either.
No. Yeah, they have a complicated relationship, but it doesn't mean that he's a bad dad.
No, no.
That's the difference. Like, and he's
They-
trying and struggling just the same as everybody else in the show.
Yeah, because there are times where her upbringing as a spoiled rich girl really shows. Because Sam,
Well, and they are kind of setting her up to almost kind of be like a Johnny in of ways, especially in this third season when you got, I mean, look at her. She's the one who's kind of starting a lot of the shit.
Yeah, I mean,
Vicariously,
I don't even have a list right in front of me, yet I mentally remember the list of things she's done in seasons 1 and 2 that make her seem unlikable. First off, she's hanging out with these rich Encino brats like Yasmin and Moon, who are so careless and irresponsible that they crash right into Johnny Lawrence's Pontiac Firebird. And yeah, she said you shouldn't be. I told you shouldn't be looking at your phone while driving. But still, it's like when they drove off, she didn't say or do anything. She didn't tell her parents she got into a little fender bender, even though she was a passenger. And then the fact that she's even hanging out with these girls at the expense of her friendship with Aisha. Yeah, that's bad enough. But then these so-called friends of hers, they get their jollies by bullying and harassing Aisha for her weight, and worst of all, they do it in such a cowardly way with cyberbullying.
yeah.
And so yeah, it's because of that Aisha even went to Cobra Kai, because she didn't trust Sam or her father to actually help her. Because
that's a fair assessment, and that's the thing I like about Sam's character is she's not cut and dry.
No.
She's not necessarily, even though she is kind of one of our quote unquote protagonists, at least from the point of view of the show.
Yeah,
it's not afraid to allow her to be and grow.
Somewhat antagonistic.
And especially in the first parts of the show, and like you said, and the show doesn't let us forget the things that she's done. I mean, you even have the scene where Daniel's breaking down all the boys she's been through in the last year, because that's the thing, is the series so far to this point has pretty much taken over the course of a year. But like, yeah, she
They
is
may
an interesting character.
they may have to do time jumps
Well, they
for
did
the.
do one time jump already at the end of this last season, but
Well, yeah, but they're
yeah,
definitely going to be doing probably a few more time jumps with the later seasons, considering
yeah, it all
the time
depends
we're
because
currently living in.
as far as I know, the All Valley's right around Christmas, and if this episode happened just before the All Valley was supposed to happen, I believe the next season will pick up right
Actually,
after
that's
this.
another
But if
thing
not,
that's another thing I realized. The All
yeah,
Valley in season 1 took place in May. So it's like
unless they moved it to May and we just didn't really pay attention to that.
no, yeah, because I mean, I remember in Karate Kid Part 1 and 3, it was in December that the All Valley tournament
Yeah,
took place. But then when Cobra Kai season 1 came about, they hosted the All Valley tournament in May as opposed to the usual December. So that tells me they may have changed the date. But I wonder if they're gonna change it back by this next season, or if they're gonna,
he hung up that poster at the end, and I didn't even pay attention to see what date it said.
yeah, same here, same here. I didn't think to look at the date on it.
I mean, I could probably go do it right now, but it'd take me a few minutes. But no, like either that'll give them a couple months to get ready, or just a few weeks or a week or whatever, and that's where we're going to pick up. But no, I think you're right. We're going to see some jumps at some point. It all depends on how things play out. But to this point, I trust them. I trust them 100%. Like,
Yeah, I trust in the writing of this.
after the second season, because after that I was like, well, this could, because that end of that second season, it was like taking it to the extreme. It was like, okay, how much farther can they go with this? I thought maybe there's this
Yeah,
slight
'cause
possibility they could go down the woke route, because things were they were getting a few elements in here and there, but no, all that went out the window in this third season. And outside of a few gripes, I'm almost, I got to watch the first two seasons again. This one might be my favorite season. If not, it's definitely the second.
This is definitely my favorite season. To me, I feel like season 1 and 2 were deliberately building to this season.
They kind of were, because the original plan was, I believe, for only 3 seasons. And then when Netflix picked it up, I keep hearing conflicting things. I know they picked it up for season 4 and 5, but then a couple of people have said now that they also picked it up for season 6.
Well, like I said, I actually wrote it. I typed it to you in another stream. I don't know if it was one of your streams or some other stream the other night. I heard somewhere like about a year ago, there initially was a 7-season plan.
That could have been, but I do know like the original deal with Netflix with YouTube was, I believe, for only 3 seasons. And that's where this season they were able to finally shop it around.
Well, I'll say this: if they can make a 7-season plan, like if writing wise they can do it, then I say go for it.
Oh yeah, definitely. If you can keep it this strong, like that's the only thing I don't want.
Yeah,
is I don't want this series to go too long, overstay its welcome.
Yeah, like Smallville.
Definitely going down roads. It's like, okay, you need to button it up here. Like we're getting too long in the tooth, and there's nothing left for you to milk out of this cow.
I mean, I will say I enjoyed Smallville. There was a lot to enjoy about it.
But after that season, it should have been just called Metropolis. Let's be real.
Exactly. Yes. Or even Superman.
Yeah, just shit or get off the pot. And that's the great thing about this show is they know they only have a limited space to tell this story, and I really wish they would just expand it a little bit. But then again, I could be wrong. That could be detrimental to the show. Because I mean, we've only gotten 30 episodes to this point, right? Because 10 episodes a season, 3 seasons. Yeah.
Thank you, Jack of all casuals. That definitely helps.
And they are kind of treating it like movies. It doesn't show. It shows May. Okay, so they must have changed it to May then. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And I do like how the titles have had, the 2 and the Kai part and the 3 and the Kai part of this season. And I'm sure it'll be Ivy and
yeah. I do like though that the last title of the title of the last episode of season 3 actually is the original date of the tournament.
Right.
So
they haven't, I'm sure they just haven't explained it to you yet, but they just probably moved it for whatever arbitrary reason.
Yeah. I'm still trying to figure out the freaking rules of the tournament, because it seemed like they throughout the movies they were kind of making up and changing the rules as they went along. Because
it blows above the belt.
Yeah, I know that.
And there's supposed to be no kicks to the head, but that was always the question. Yeah, they kind of seems like they kind of were always playing loose with that rule.
Well, Johnny, he did a kick to Daniel's head, and I don't think it was illegal. It just didn't count as a point, I think, or something like. I
I'm
don't
not sure.
remember.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like that.
I'd have to go back and watch the entire fight frame by frame, and
Yeah.
but
And
yeah,
see, they did get I can't remember the guy's name, but the guy who plays the referee in 1 and 3,
yeah,
he actually did the choreography, and for the first two films, or for the first and third film, and maybe even the second film, and for like Ninja Turtles 1 and 2.
yeah.
And
He's a student of Chuck Norris, I believe.
yeah, and I can't remember his darn name right now. And
Yeah, and I'm wondering, and I don't know, but I wonder, is he still alive? And if he is he gonna play it?
I don't
Come
know,
into
but my
this?
question is like, or what I was going to say was, I think if anything, he would have been their consultant on that as far as the tournament rules.
Mm-hmm.
So I would believe they would have been consistent throughout. But if not, maybe it's just it probably wouldn't hurt just to look up like some standard karate tournament rules to just see what because I'm sure there's specifics as to what you can and cannot do.
Yeah.
You know,
Not to get too far off topic, but as you know, I am
right?
writing my own story, Blue Shogun. I will admit, Cobra Kai and Karate Kid did inspire a potential future story arc if my story's even good enough to get off the ground after the first one. Um, there is going to be like a tournament involvement, but I will do my best to be I make the rules very clear right off the bat. It's going to be a combination of the All Valley and you ever see the movie Best of the Best?
I believe so. Like way back when it
Yeah.
first came out. Yeah,
Yeah, but you remember how at the end of that first movie it was like a team competition where
kind of. Yeah,
even if the three American members did lose, they it's not a matter of who wins and loses. It's a matter of how many points each member of each team racks up.
yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, and then of course same thing with part 3 because it was a lose a point, gain a point thing.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
speaking of that, yeah, go ahead.
but it's not going to be like limited to like first to 3 points. It's just rack up as many as you can.
Yeah. And yeah, like as far as that goes, like I'm sure there's going to be a lot more coming up that will tie into part 3 like we were talking about in the previous podcast
Yeah.
I was in our podcast.
And speaking of part 3, what I find interesting is a lot of people, even Ralph Macchio himself, not many people liked part 3 because they felt it was the weakest and not, because I mean, that's always been the one criticism of part 3 is that it was basically Karate Kid part 1 recycled for a lot of people. I mean, yeah, there were a few new elements here and there, but it's like those few elements doesn't change the fact that it's essentially at its core part 1 recycled.
Yes and no. Like I see the argument on the surface, but I feel like that movie has a lot more going for it than a lot of people kind of see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe if they had a little more time to, iron it out a little more, maybe it would have been better.
Well, there was elements that, first of all, Macchio played part in because he had, stipulations going into the film that he didn't want. And then also like just I get it, on its surface, it does have a lot of the same beats as the first film, especially having the tournament at the end.
But someone can argue that there are some beats that are similar to the first film in part 2, just
absolutely
in a subverted way.
And people have. So don't get me wrong. And I can't deny half of that, but I can also look at it and go, well, it's not nearly as bad as something like The Force Awakens.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like to where at least with Karate Kid 3, regardless of the elements that are similar to the first film, they still carry the characters along. We still get things and elements that aren't necessarily like the thing is, like, I feel like people judge part 3 like they did a lot of sequels at the time where you were just getting a retread of the original. The characters didn't have any growth. They were just, whatever growth they had in the first movie had completely gone away just so they can have the same story arc again. Mm-hmm. And I don't feel like we got that in a Karate Kid, even though they kept getting beat down by the critics, especially part 3 and 2 to a point too, because you are right. Even though, Yeah, they have similar elements. I don't feel like 1 and 2 are the same movie at all. Like they have so many different moving parts that even though, you could hang up and say, yeah, this setup, that setup, blah, 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 the bully part, then they fight at the end, da, 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 da. I get that. Like that's every action movie though. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like there's certain key elements to every one of these movies. And I mean, I could actually, I turn around and people don't understand, but once you stop and think about it, I compare Karate Kid 3 to Rocky 3.
yeah,
Rocky 3 is practically the same movie as the first one, folks. But
yeah.
nobody
Just
ever says that.
the only difference is he's not fighting the same guy.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Like,
and
so why is it that gets a pass, but this doesn't? I don't
yeah,
understand. And
I
clearly, Mr. T is just as colorful and over the top as Terry Silver and Mike Barnes are. So
yeah.
I don't,
And but I will say this regarding Karate Kid 3. First off, the one thing that was in the one element to the tournament introduced in 3, but I don't know if it was in the first one at all. But and I don't know if it carried over into Cobra Kai. The former champion the year before prior, if he chooses
Daniel
to sign away
specifically says that's a new rule. So I
oh,
believe that
yeah,
was introduced. Yeah.
that was introduced in part 3. Okay. But I don't know if that carried over into Cobra Kai season 1's tournament. But
That's
yeah,
not, yeah, I'm not sure about that. They didn't really cover that.
yeah, because I know Xander Stone, the guy in the blue karate gi, the Topanga karate. I know he was the champ the year before, and because his mother was clapping when he was fighting Miguel, saying, "Come on, one more, and we're back in the finals." So, yeah, it's like he's the former champion, but then Miguel took the title from him.
So they may have changed, and that's the thing we got to understand. It's been 30 years since that movie, so the rules have probably changed quite a bit, and they're not going to sit there and explain every change.
Of course,
And I can let that go too. Yeah.
But here's one thing I would like to get into. Obviously, former champion Daniel can sign the thing to defend his title and not have to fight in the preliminaries, but and save his competition for only the final round, like like he did in part 3. But what about former champions like Johnny Lawrence?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question.
Because here's the thing, I always believed if you really wanted to go full on Rocky 3 with Karate Kid Part 3, right after Mike Barnes loses, everyone thought that was the end of the tournament. But then, we have one more contestant, and this is a last minute entry. And then Daniel's like, what last minute entry? I thought this was it. And then you hear the "You're the Best" song start to, pump up, and then out walks in a black and yellow gi with no Cobra Kai logos on it, Johnny Lawrence. He's back, unaffiliated, trying to reclaim his title. And then you end the movie right where they both get ready to throw a punch, and then bam, the credits roll.
I don't think that would have changed 3 at all, but
it would have been a cooler.
Yeah, I think it would have been just too much to add in there, because at that point, Johnny's story and his are kind of, that's where we get to see it later on. I get what you're saying, and it would have been kind of cool at that time.
Cool,
but no, I think the bigger part of part 3 is that people, and somebody pointed this out to me, and I totally didn't think about it, was Daniel never really beat Mike. Mike kicked the shit out of him. The only reason Mike won, or Daniel beat Mike, was because Mike was playing the win a point, lose a point game.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, that's also been my argument about Daniel. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still like Daniel, great character. But when it comes to his feud with Johnny, he likes to think he's better than Johnny because he beat him in the tournament. But I've always been of the argument that Daniel only beat Johnny because he hid behind the rules of the tournament. It's like in the tournament there are rules, and he hides behind them.
And that's why.
But in a street fight, he never beat Johnny.
Well, in the second film, though, that was supposed to be the whole point, was that Chosen would have been a much harder opponent. So I get what you're saying.
Well, to be fair, also there is. I will say this: Chosen, he basically. Everyone thought Johnny was a badass bully, but Chosen made what Johnny and the Cobra Kai's did look like child's play.
And that's my point. Yeah, like the fact that.
But the thing was,
Chosen was
Chosen was Miyagi-Do trained, whereas Johnny was Cobra Kai, two totally different styles.
And that's fair. And there could have been a point where, like, we've seen him go, toe to toe a few times here in these first 2 seasons, and even in this 3rd season a little bit.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're pretty well matched. I get exactly where you're coming from. The only argument I can make is that now that Daniel knows the other secrets, I don't think anybody has a chance. Because like before this, I think you're right. Like there could have been a time where in a street fight with no rules, John outside of karate, Johnny could have probably put him down, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point now, and I think that was kind of the big point of this last season here to get us back on track to season 3 was
Yeah.
that final lesson that Miyagi had to teach him that he wasn't ready for prior to that. And I love how it was set up and it played out and how Chosen was like, did Miyagi really teach you everything? And it's like, the whole setup of, look, sometimes you have to kill. There is no choice.
Yeah.
And I
to
think
be
that's
fair,
setting up for a lot coming down the road too, even though we've seen some of it play out
yeah.
here. I think it's going to get more heated than this.
And we obviously know Mr. Miyagi didn't teach him everything, because if you remember in the first season of Cobra Kai, Daniel, he was trying to do the ultimate karate kick, the handstand kick, and he couldn't do it, or at least he came close to. But Robbie distracted him, and then Robbie ended up stealing his thunder and did it himself.
Right.
But you got to wonder, did after the tournament, did Daniel keep practicing and eventually become able to do it?
Well, not only that, we kind of are left to assume that Daniel was continually trained by Miyagi after that. And of course, that would have been the last time he ever fought in a tournament or could fight in a tournament. It was in part 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once he's over the age of 18, it's done. You're done.
Well, but then again, he could have. See, that's another thing I feel like too. He competed in under 18 tournaments. Why didn't he ever think of going, professional?
I think he did that out of respect for Miyagi, to be honest with you. Yeah, I'm sure if that ever came up, and that's probably where Miyagi pushed him into being a car dealer. If you want to, I mean, and I'm just assuming here, but just knowing the relationship between the two, because Miyagi was never about the tournaments. The tournament to him was a
just
way
to
level
the playing field.
Exactly, to level the playing field so that Daniel wasn't getting his ass beat for the next few months, and a place where it was kind of considered fair and square, and like you said, a level playing field, and they could, as long as the members of Cobra Kai and Kreese were going to be honorable to their what they said they were going to do, then that would work out. And I feel like that's where, at least if Kreese does lose in this next season, I don't feel like he'll go to an extreme as far as like I think he'll definitely take the loss. But what he won't do is he won't go away.
Yeah, he will not go away.
He'll let it bubble in the background and he'll plan his revenge, and that's what he does. And that's what I love about this character is he's such a great villain.
Yeah.
And they do make him not so much sympathetic, but understandable. And you get his motivation. And that's what I love about Great Bill, because he's very reminiscent of like Hans Gruber.
Yeah. And another thing I do notice, well, first off, I do like in the one scene between Amanda and Kreese, she called him Rambo.
Yeah, that was a nice little touch. Yeah, I did catch that.
Yeah. But
there's a lot of great nods to anybody who's a fan, of course. But
yeah. But another thing I do notice, I actually said this right in the opening just before you came on. Did you know that there is a Cobra Kai video game?
Yeah, I haven't got a chance to play it, but I'm well aware of it. Yeah.
I was quick to get it and play it. I will admit there are a few gameplay gripes here and there, but I still overall enjoyed the game. I especially enjoyed the music. The music is calming and badass. It definitely has that 80s feel. Someone said it was like a type of song that was played, just minus the lyrics. But to me, the music in the background music of like the menu, it sounded more like the upgrade, the dojo menu. It sounded more like the Terminator music to me.
Well, I do know like a couple of the songs in the films, like most people don't stop and think about it, but like, it's a classic thing to take whatever theme that the composer puts into the movie and then they'll turn it into a pop song.
Yeah,
Like they
and
did it for Titanic, and that
they
wasn't the
did
first
it.
time though.
They did it with Cruel Summer in season 2. But
Well,
here's
not
the,
just that, but like in the movie itself,
yeah,
the song that Survivor does is the Karate Kid theme. If you
yeah.
stop and listen to the music, and same thing with there's a song in part 2 by Carly Simon that's the same thing. It's the love theme put with words.
Survivor. What Survivor song?
The Survivor song is the Moment of Truth.
Oh, that I didn't know that was the Karate Kid theme.
Dun 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 dun
I thought
dun
the Karate
dun.
I thought the Karate Kid theme was
Dun,
the You're the
da-da-dum,
Best.
ba-dum. Nope. You're the
Oh,
Best was actually written for Rocky 3.
yeah, I know that, but
No, no. Listen to the Survivor song and then listen to the actual Kid theme. They're the same exact tune.
oh, just minus the lyrics.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
It's just an
okay then.
orchestrated version, and then they just did it as a pop song. Yeah, that's what.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I will definitely look
It's
into
a
that.
moment of truth. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. But yeah, whatchamacallit. But yeah, I do like how in season 2, they had Cruel Summer, the original, but then they had the remix version.
Yeah,
The one,
believe it or not, that's not on the frickin' soundtrack. Cruel
well,
Summer is not for
I'm
some
sure
reason.
I'm sure there you can probably rip it
Oh
off of
yeah, yeah, I can
YouTube.
get it somewhere else. But no, it's just for weird that that's the biggest hit song in the first movie, and it's not on the soundtrack. I think
Yeah,
it might have been a hit before the movie came out. That might have been
I
why.
think the movie is where it became a hit.
I'm not 100%. I'd have to look.
Okay,
Yeah,
but yeah, but
because
what I
that's
did,
generally what happens is if a song is in a movie and it's not on the soundtrack, it's because it was already a hit and they just licensed it. And the songs that are on the soundtrack generally come after the fact.
yeah, but I will say that I definitely enjoyed how they did remake that classic song to a somber version of it. But then the thing is, when they did the trailer for Cobra Kai's 1 and 2 coming to Netflix, and then showed us a snippet of 3, um, they had like a variation of "You're the Best" by Joe Esposito. But I was surprised that we didn't hear that music in this movie, in this season.
Hmm. No,
But
I didn't even
but
notice that. But yeah, I'll check that out.
but I will say I think I know why they put it only in the promotional material, but not the actual season.
Why
They're
is that?
still they're still saving it for the right moment.
Could be. Could very well be.
Because
Absolutely.
let's face it, that theme truly was the most badass theme of the Karate Kid. And if they're gonna put it in Cobra Kai, they're gonna put it in the right best possible spot they can.
I like You're the Best, but Moment of Truth really does, for me, capture, because of course it has the Karate Kid theme in the song. So,
Oh
like,
yeah,
I mean, listen to it again now that you know that I've said that, and you'll hear it.
yeah. And
It's
that's
totally.
and that's another thing I love about Cobra Kai is they take even the small themes that were minor and did not get much popularity outside the movie unless you watch the movies. For example, when Johnny and his Cobra Kai buddies were on their bikes in the first film, there was this theme, "Wanna Ride," I think, and
Yeah.
then and they didn't play that again until Cobra Kai season 2 when they were on their bikes again for the first time in years to give Tommy his send off.
Yeah. And then in this season, they had a song in
Yeah, from the
the
karate.
soccer scene from Karate Kid 2. Yep.
Yeah, they had the soccer. It was like the soccer scene from part 1, but they had the music from part 2 when
Yeah.
Daniel was karate chopping the ice.
And it actually fits better in that scene than
You
it did
think
in
so?
the original film. Yeah, because because the song is I'm gonna rock and roll over you. Like it's just in the background of that one scene, and it goes away once he starts to concentrate.
Well, yeah,
It
but see,
doesn't come back
I
until
believe
the yeah.
but I think the music worked in that scene because it was less lyrics and more
Yeah,
music.
because it kind of sounds like a rocky kind of Japanese song in the background of it because it's got
Well,
that
yeah,
thing
yeah,
going on. But yeah, no,
exactly.
I get you. But like once you kick into the actual song, like the way they worked it in that scene, I had a big old smile on my face because I love soundtracks. So it's just like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, I wonder how many people are going to pick this one up.
Oh yeah, definitely. And yeah, I actually got your "Wanna Ride" the other night, like actually a month or so ago. I ripped that off of YouTube to listen to in my spare time. But yeah, now I'm definitely going to pull that one.
Oh, the whole soundtrack's actually really worth it, and they re-released it a couple years back, so it's fairly readily available. But
I
the
like it.
second one, unfortunately, I was hoping now that we had the Moody Blues song in the second season, I'm like, oh, maybe they'll finally release the pop soundtrack on CD, because they never have. That's the only one that's not been on CD.
But yeah, I have sung Glory of Love every now and then. I just don't, I haven't done it in the shower yet.
I don't think you want to do it in the shower. No, that's clearly the song that's probably most closely associated with Karate Kid, because it was the biggest hit from any of the soundtracks. And
they did have a Pete Cetera song in season 2, just wasn't Glory of Love.
Now, didn't they pull that in just a little bit though in the second season though? Glory of Love, I swear now for some reason.
No. It was the scene when the third last episode of season 2. I think that's episode 8. Yeah, basically Daniel was putting more focus in the karate in the dojo and less into the dealership, and that's why Anush or whatever his name is, he left the dealership, and he was trying to make amends to Amanda by having the kids, clean up the cars and such, but she wasn't impressed. But then he brought her into the backseat of a car where they reminisce the celebration that of their first successful sale, and that there was a Peter Cetera song, but it was not.
I think that was because I remember that scene. I know the one you're talking about, and it was hard for me to say. I'm sorry. I think if I remember right, or something like that. But I swear they did use "Glory of Love" at some point. But okay,
yeah.
Because I do know they had the other. I believe that was a Chicago song, if I'm not mistaken. That would have been, but either way, same difference. But
my stepdad's a Chicago fan and a fan of Peter Cetera. That's how I know about Glory of Love.
There have been, and this is no joke, like literally like 50 some members of Chicago at this point. They have had so many different members of that band.
Yeah,
because Cetera didn't even start singing in the band until late 70s, early 80s, somewhere in there, I want to say. And the band had been around for quite a few years before that.
Yeah, and when the band got inducted into like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and whatchamacallit, Peter Cetera wouldn't do one last hurrah with them, my stepdad was like, oh, come on.
Yeah, that's kind of
give us that.
Because he's not had that much success outside of the band, let's be real.
Well, Glory of Love
is really his highlight, Yeah,
his one solo, I guess,
He had like 2 or 3 other songs, but no, and he had a couple songs where he did duets and stuff, but no, Glory of Love is probably his biggest solo hit for sure. Because I'm 100% sure it was a number 1 hit. If it wasn't, it was damn close.
And like I said during your Mead radio last night, I actually was not very familiar with the soundtrack for Karate Kid Part 3. It was like there were no songs in that movie or the soundtrack that just stuck out to me.
Unfortunately, during the film, no, they did a piss poor job of using any of the music really in the movie itself. Listen to Your Heart was the only one that came out at the time as far as on the radio.
Yeah.
And Glory of Love was a number 1. I was right. And it even got nominated for Best Academy Award. Or best song for Academy Award, But Listen to Your Heart was like the only real big single off there. And honestly, let me look. I don't even think that went very high in the charts. I vaguely remember the video for it.
Yeah. But like I was saying, because Karate Kid Part 3 soundtrack was seemingly lacking of good, memorable songs, when I did my Karate Kid trilogy series of reviews like a few years ago when I was still just starting my channel, I couldn't use much music for even that review. I just reused You're the Best for like the opening, and then at the end, I did mostly use the Bill Conti music, but then I also for the ending I used the Karate Kid cartoon theme.
Oh, that show, I tell you. I got a little bit of a love-hate with that show.
Well, I like to see. Look, here's the thing. I understand what the issues it has. You know, it was a ongoing quest to find the shrine idol, and it was just one episode they get close to it, only to lose it, and then they have to continue the search.
Yeah, it's just that's my problem. It's nothing like the show. It's the character designs are great. The animation is decent. The voice work, yeah. Other than that, it's basically like Karate Kid in name only.
Yeah,
Like you really, it's like more like Johnny Quest or something like that. I think I said
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Small time. Jessica was actually not his girlfriend. It was just a crush, and then she was just his friend. And she left because you know, Daniel, you know, he used Cobra Kai to break a guy's nose without thinking, and
Yeah.
you know, it was like he was unlike himself, and it scared her. But of course, she did give him some words of encouragement that it's okay if you're really sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I will say this though. I wonder how good the Karate Kid cartoon would have been if there was like a one, even if it was just one episode where they brought in Johnny Lawrence.
well, that was like my biggest gripe was like you had the opportunity to go in
And capture more elements from the film.
exactly, yeah. And what did they do? They went and took like a somewhat loose element from the second film and tried to spin off this. It was just a dumb idea.
Yeah, I mean, I can already name it. I can already tell you how I would do an episode of that show. I would have it where Mr. Miyagi, Daniel, and the girl, I forget her name. I know it's not Kumiko; it's a totally different girl.
Exactly, and that's another problem. Yeah,
and but yeah, they're like they get a tip that the idol has been sent somewhere in L.A. back in Reseda. So for Miyagi and Daniel, it's like they're going home, but it's really just to get the idol. And then while they're there, they see Johnny Lawrence. Now, I don't know if he'll be dressed in his black and yellow gi or if he's wearing his casual clothes with the lovely red leather jacket. But basically, yeah, he's roughing up these people, and he's like, "Oh man, Johnny's up to no good again." And then it's like you see them fighting a little, but then it's revealed Johnny is not up to trouble. He heard that you know, he got a tip that some bad guys are up to no good, and he's trying to, and like they've been shaking people down, and he's been beating them up to try and help the people. And then it's revealed that the guys that he's beating up who are shaking down people are the guys who have the shrine. So then Johnny and Daniel have to team up in order to try and get the shrine and take down the bad guys.
honestly, I wouldn't have the shrine be any part of the show.
Well, I understand, but
yeah,
I
would have just had it been, you know, like, yeah, either you start the show like you, because there's that 6-month period or a few months period or whatever that they're in Okinawa.
Yeah.
You don't see everything. So you could have had part of the show take place there. You could have had, you know, like you said, pick up after part 3 then. And, or just like you said, the fact that we didn't get to see more of Daniel's life, an extension of the things that were in the show, is like, it's so stupid. You know, I mean, yeah, it may have been a little bit more 2-dimensional and made Johnny like the average bully every week or something like that, perhaps. But
yeah,
I would have much rather seen that than what we got. Like, yeah, at the time it came out as a kid, I was very disappointed by that TV show. Like,
but yeah, like I said, the episode it's that I just came up just told you. Johnny starts off looking bad, but then, you know, after their little scuffle, it's revealed he's actually doing the right thing. Just he's going about it in a more aggressive way, and therefore they both got to team up in order to, you know, take down the guys. And so they take down the bad guys, but again, the shrine got sold, and so they Daniel and Miyagi and the girl are off to go after it. Meanwhile, Johnny's going to stick around, still doing his own thing. Yeah. And then hell, you could have done a follow-up episode where Kreese and Cobra Kai come back. Johnny, he's either being tricked to go back into it, or he's trying to stand up to it, but he can't do it alone. So he's asking Daniel and Mr. Miyagi for help.
Yeah, I mean, like you could do that for sure, but like I said, like I'm just like I've not really paid much attention to that cartoon since it came out.
Yeah, But hey, as cheesy and hokey as it is, it's still, it's a classic for some. I mean, I understand, like you said, there are some issues with that show, but still, compared to what we're getting these days, it's probably a delightful watch, a viewing.
Yes and no, but I feel like at the same time, that's obviously the only thing in the Karate Kid history other than the remake that is persona non grata and non canon at this point.
Well, okay, to be fair, I understand some of the criticism for the remake, but I won't criticize it too much because, believe it or not, the remake helped me get into the Karate Kid.
That's fair. I will say this much for the remake. Like, obviously, Jackie Chan's performance is really good.
And the whole reason I saw the film was for Jackie Chan.
Yeah, and I mean, if they would have just called it the Kung Fu Kid, I wouldn't have as much problem, but there's just so many issues other than that that I don't want to get into because, yeah, I mean, it's not fair to beat it. It's down. It's done for. It's not coming back. It's not like I'm going to gain anything or.
Well, personally, I wouldn't mind if they try to include elements of that movie into the Cobra Kai show. Like,
I don't think they will.
Well, like, let's say this. What happens next is, we see, Johnny and Daniel, do their thing. It's not enough, and so Dre comes along and tries to offer some kung fu into the repertoire of things,
Well, the problem with that is you'd have to recast the role because Will Smith's son is now a daughter. And not only that, there's so many people that would be avidly against that, and that would totally go against everything that this show has done. And you've got plenty of other characters you can draw upon before you get to that point. There's already been stuff brought up to me that's like, okay, Chosen could come back.
And if you want, you could get Jackie Chan.
Well, yeah, I'd almost rather see that, but that ain't gonna happen. Yeah. But no, we still have the chance of Chosen being able to come back and be a possible teacher. There's still the idea of Julie being out there, and there's been things that kind of set her up as a possibility of coming back. Someone even brought up the interesting idea that what if Tori's mom is Julie, because we've never seen her. I mean, that would be a little weird, but there's always these strange possibilities in the way they have kind of played with our expectations. Great example is season 2. They kept talking about Allie being some doctor. Well, a lot of us thought, well, obviously she's going to be the miracle doctor who comes in and helps Miguel. Well, no, she totally wasn't. They pulled a bait and switch on us, and they even really flashed the doctor really quick, and she looks a lot like Allie.
Yeah.
You ever notice that? They do that to us, and then when we get to the flashbacks, the one I love the most is, I don't know if they did this to you too, but I'm sure most of us have, and a few other people said the same thing. They thought the whole time Ponytail was Terry Silver. No, the other guy.
Oh, yeah, that totally blew me away.
And it's almost like they do it on purpose. It's almost like you're drawn to that. Like, that's got to be Terry. He's got the attitude. He's got the ponytail. He's that kind of.
But now we know. But we also now know why he had that hairstyle in the first place.
Exactly.
It was a reference to him.
And I love that part of that. And somebody else brought up something I never even really thought about, or maybe I did in the first season and then just forgot about it. Is like the fact that Robbie is basically, he's named after Bobby.
Yeah, the compassionate one.
Yeah. Like, there's so many little things in the show, like, you don't even stop to think about, and it's like, wow, I never even, but like, that's the attention to detail.
The one thing that I really felt was going to be what Johnny needed to reclaim what he's lost is basically he gets his old Cobra Kai buddies, minus Tommy, sadly, who passed away. But those that were still with us, Bobby and the other two guys, I don't remember their names at the moment, but he gets them, and they sort of pull an intervention thing where they walk into the Cobra Kai dojo in their, in like karate gis. But obviously they must have, they probably got newer ones, but they're meant to look like the Cobra Kai gis. They tell the students that are following Kreese that, they're supposed that why they should not follow Kreese because this is what he did to us and all that and Jackson's. And that's basically how I feel like that could have changed things. But I was surprised they didn't do that. But I feel like they could still find a way to work that in somewhere.
No, and I get that me too about Bobby. That's why, yeah. But as far as the remake being better movie, I can't. No, I gotta no. Nope, nope, nope. Because I'll put the first film, like that to me is a tight enough script you could put up against Back to the Future and a few other well written scripts to where everything pays off perfectly. The
Well,
cast is pitch perfect.
yeah.
I mean, for Pete's sake, Pat Morita got nominated for a Best Supporting Actor for that. People forget that.
To be fair, I have to ask you this. Do you think the crane kick in the remake is better than the one in the original?
No. I hate, honestly, I hate every damn thing about that remake except for Jackie Chan.
Okay.
And the only reason I don't hate him is because they didn't make him Mr. Miyagi. They made him a completely different character who's similar.
Yeah.
And other than that, like every other element of that movie is complete and utter bullshit as far as I'm concerned. First of all, Jaden's way too young for everything that's going on in the movie. Too much of it is just a direct rip off of the first film.
And not to mention the mother is completely negligent and just there for her own thing.
And almost completely non-existent from my remembrance. I've only seen it once.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but take your jacket off, put it on the hook, take it off the hook, do all that shit is not even nearly in the same league as wax on, wax off, let alone all the other stuff.
But the one thing, I don't know if you saw Nostalgia Critics review of original Karate Kid versus remake, but he did say the one thing that the remake did was Mr. Han actually explained the lesson where instead of Mr. Miyagi just showing us and then it becoming the light. Is that good or bad?
Bad, because that's kind of the whole. So you got to remember, wax on, wax off, and maybe this is the thing. Me 82. I don't know how old you are, but like before the Karate Kid,
I'm 32 years old.
No, me 82 in the chat though.
Oh.
But like here's the thing: when the Karate Kid first came out, like nobody knew about it's kind of like the whole Darth Vader is your father thing.
Yeah.
Wax on, wax off has become part of the vernacular. Yeah. You got to imagine seeing that movie for the first time with nobody telling you anything about it and how that pays off. Because we are watching this movie and you've got a kid who, like this old guy, all we know about him is that he knows karate because we've seen him kick the shit out of Johnny and his buddies and that he's the maintenance guy at the building, right?
Yeah.
And from your point of view, when you're first seeing this, like, okay, yeah, this guy knows karate, but he's using Daniel as a fucking slave. You're going through this and you know exactly Daniel's point of view. Now, of course, you kind of pick up on what he's doing, but that's the payoff. That moment when he's like, show me Santa floor.
Yeah.
And he gets get up, look at eye, always look at eye. That whole fucking scene, that is the payoff of the karate. Like that moment when he's like, now show me paint the fence. And he does the whole fucking thing, like the whole theater. Like if you were in a theater when that came out, everybody just like took an instant like, oh
yeah, I actually did my own
whole fucking time.
I actually did my own version of that reaction.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you don't get that new surprise with that new remake. Like in the way it's played out, it's like I would rather him done the wax on, wax off. Okay. At least it would have been the same because the way it's done here is it just seems like it's ripping it off. And that is one of those moments that's like a key moment in cinema history. That's just like you blew it up, in Planet of the Apes. It's just like, I am your father. It's just like, and I'm probably going to say a number of movies you've never seen, but like I knew it was you I knew it was you, Fredo, and you broke my heart from Godfather. I could go on and on. It's those famous moments in movies where everybody's like, oh shit.
Where it's basically their Home Alone screen face moment.
Kind of, yeah. Definitely like it was that moment in the theater where collectively everybody's like, oh shit, that's what he's been doing all this time. He's been teaching this kid karate and building up his strength. Like, like I said, you kind of get it, but like the first time you see that has never been done on screen before like that. The way that story played out, you have this practically all set up perfectly because it was your typical, underdog kid in the 80s. It was just like every after school special you saw, single mother was another thing that was, becoming more of a thing in the 80s. So it really hit a note that I don't think, and that's why it's so to this day has resonated. Yeah. Like Mr. Miyagi-isms are everywhere. Like people quote him all the time.
I actually made my own version of the crane kick. It's actually called the dragon kick. I mean, it's partially inspired by Kung Fu, but it's like got like a sort of karate Mr. Miyagi twist to it. I'm actually going to work that into my story.
Well, unfortunately, the original kick
Yeah.
was not executed correctly because
Yeah. I know
I'm
they
sure you've
I
heard
know
the
I
story.
know
Yeah,
yeah, that's the thing. That's basically you're supposed to kick with the very foot that you're standing on,
yeah.
but you're supposed to land right back on your foot. And that's one of the reasons why I asked about the whole the remake version, because it seemed like the remake version did the original intention right.
Yeah, but that just isn't enough for me. And I'm sorry, like there's just so much pretentiousness in that remake that it's not as bad as Ghostbusters 2016, don't get me wrong, but it's very close in my opinion. I mean,
Hey,
it's
better close than not completely.
no, I mean, and the only thing saving grace in that is Jackie Chan, like his
Yeah.
character, the way they took it, and if they would have just done some other elements in that film, I would have been, it would have been better. Like
Yeah.
really take out the girl part because that's the thing is he's too young to have a girlfriend.
Well, to be fair, what Kung Fu Kid was doing was trying to combine Karate Kid 1 and 2 into the same film.
Well, I get that Me 82 SJM, but it's either then you do that or you'd come up with something better because it just falls flat on its face.
Yeah.
And by the end of the film, I'm not invested in the new character. I don't even remember the kid's name because I know it's D or whatever the fuck it is, Trey or Dre or whatever. I don't know. Stupid.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
stupid. I'm sorry. I get people who enjoy it, but I have a
One of the reasons,
pretentiousness of it.
heck, I think one of the reasons why it's hard to believe is the whole because I mean, we know why Daniel and his mom moved from Newark all the way to Reseda, because she got a big job opportunity out there. And LA pay, seemingly, I think at the time, was meant to pay more.
Oh yeah, that was the beginning of the Silicon Valley boom. Like
Okay.
all the stuff that we're doing now, like right here on YouTube, like she was a part of that. That's what she was getting into was the whole computer boom.
Yeah. And so the fact that that Dre and his mom have to move all the way to China, that is what I don't get. You know, what was so big going on there that they had to get in on.
It was done that way just so they could sell the movie in China. That's the other problem I have with this movie. It's like a lot of the shit that was done in the Kung Fu Kid is all I'll call it.
But you got to admit, the scenery shots, like the running along the Great Wall, you got to admit those were at least good moments for like the montage.
It's to a point. I just wish they would have tried to do more of their own thing. I would have rather it been a movie inspired by the Karate Kid more than the Karate Kid. That's my main issue. You know what I'm saying? Like you could have done.
I was under the impression Dre was trying to learn karate, like in the beginning, kind of like Daniel after his first beatdown at the hands of Johnny. But then it's like the moment he met Mr. Han, he said, "The hell with karate, I'm going to learn kung fu instead."
Maybe, but either way, like the point of the movie, it doesn't really matter karate, kung fu. In the end of the day, I think the fact that Cobra Kai has resonated so well is basically my point is you do something right the first time, and especially if it's something that's in the lexicon, and that's why Ghostbusters failed.
Yeah.
And that's why the remake of the Karate Kid never did that well. It did okay, but it didn't do that well. Is specifically because Ghostbusters and Karate Kid and movies of that era, Back to the Future, they came out in the video era, and we were kids of the video era. Like we were able to see these movies over and over again on cable and on television and on
maybe you
and yeah. But my point is they through that wax on, wax off is part of the vernacular.
Yeah.
Don't never feed them after midnight is now part of
the and wax on.
Who you gonna call is now part of the vernacular. Like even if you've never seen those movies, you still know what I Am Your Father comes from.
Oh yes.
That's my point is like you can't recapture that. What you can do is something like Cobra Kai. You can try and remake it, and sure you'll make some people happy like you and me 82 SJM in the chat and other people that do enjoy the film. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I said, I can admit that there are serious flaws in that film, but I will at least
beyond that, it can still be a great movie. The problem you have here is that the Karate Kid is so ingrained into the public culture.
Let me ask you this. How did you first get into the Karate Kid?
The original film. Like I saw
So
it
you,
when I was 5 years old. I mean, it was, I mean, it was just, it was everywhere. Like in 84, that's why I argue 84 is arguably one of the best years in film ever.
yeah,
Because
Karate
we've got
Kid,
Karate Kid,
Ghostbusters,
Ghostbusters,
The Terminator.
Terminator, Nightmare on Elm Street, Police Academy. The list goes on and on and on and on for
Yeah.
movies that, and I think a big part of that was the video age. Like
And
the fact that,
to be
these
fair,
movies could
though,
live on. Yeah.
to be fair, the Terminator was originally set to come out in '83,
And
and
Gremlins, if I didn't say that one.
mm, and yeah, because Terminator and Days of Future Past, the comic book, were actually conceived around the same time. Both would have come out at the same time, but Arnold was in the middle of filming Conan the Destroyer, and they had to put a delay on the release.
Yeah, but yeah, again, like 84. I mean, we could go here all day on all the movies, but the thing is just there's certain. Beverly Hills Cop was another one that came out that year. I mean, and it was the biggest movie of that year. We totally spaced it.
But yeah, basically, I got into karate. I didn't get into Karate Kid right away. I took the slow way into the party. I grew up on references to it because in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, Secret of the Ooze, Mikey did a wet reference to wax on, wax off, and then Raph is like mouth off. And then there was The Mighty Ducks, the first film. It had Bombay say concentration, not strength. And then Averman's like the Karate Kid, right? Wax on, wax off. So, and then, of course, in the 90s, when I was growing up, my mom, she was into the next Karate Kid. So every now and then she would have it on and she'd have me sit down and watch it with her. I'd watch it, but it's just like it didn't fully connect with me. And, but then again, I'm watching the fourth one without having seen the original movies leading up to it. So obviously I have that bit of a disconnect.
Oh, no. Yeah, totally. And I mean, not that you can't watch the fourth film without seeing the first three, but obviously it really... for a lot of it to pay off, it does help.
Yeah. And then, so, yeah, basically I just grew up watching, Turtles 2 and Mighty Ducks and having those references to the Karate Kid until, the Karate Kid remake came out, or the Kung Fu Kid.
And I'm sure you've seen endless references in television and stuff without realizing it until you saw the films too. Like,
yeah. And then
everything from, How I Met Your Mother to Simpsons and everything else has referenced it over the years. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so seeing this movie, a remake of the Karate Kid, have not only the title that I've heard before, but the fact that it featured Jackie Chan, I figured, all right, I'll give this a chance. And then maybe if it's good enough, I will go watch the original and see what it was all about. And so, yeah, I like the remake just enough to want to see the original. And then I see the original, I'm like, mind blown. So
see, I almost wish you would have watched the original first. And I do that. I make a point of that. Like, especially if I've never seen an original and I'm going to watch a remake, I'll generally watch the original first if that's a possibility.
Yeah. So you see, like I said, I was a guy who was late to the party, but at least I made it. Just especially just in time for Cobra Kai.
No, and that's totally cool. And I understand that, the remake can be a gateway.
Yeah,
and I'm not knocking it for that, and I'm not knocking remakes in general, because of course there can be some great remakes. There have been.
Yeah, because I mean, I was born in November of '88, so I barely got even a hint of the '80s. That's why when I go back and rewatch '80s to '90s action movies that showcase the '80s in their, or at least what they were like, I'm like, I feel like I'm connecting with the time I was born in and what I missed out on.
Well, and the best part about the Karate Kid was each film came out in very pinnacle years of the 80s.
Yeah.
First film came out in 84, second film came out in 86, and the third film came out in 89. And all three of those years are very big years for film. And the fact that it was all kind of contained within the 80s, it's a very 80s franchise.
Yeah.
And they really pay homage to that so well in this series without it being pandering or member berries in any way. Like, that's what I love about it, because Johnny's stuck in the past.
Yeah.
And Daniel, in a way, is stuck in the past.
But to be fair, so am I to an extent. Because
no, and that's the thing, is it's a realistic thing, and the way that they've done that in this series is so great.
Yeah. In fact, speaking of films and such, a little sidetrack. I actually came up with my own idea for how I could have made Beverly Hills Cop 3 better. So, when World Class does get around to doing the Karate Kid watch party, are you invited onto that?
I haven't heard about it yet, but I'm sure I will be.
Okay.
If
Well,
not, I'll try and weasel my way on somehow.
okay, good, because I'm either before or after the movie, I'm gonna take a moment to tell that story, that how I would have done Beverly Hills Cop 3 better, and hopefully you all enjoy it.
Yeah. And as far as Me 82, that's totally fair. And I understand. Like, here's my thing though. I'd rather see a bad sequel with original characters carrying on the storyline than a remake, though. That's just me personally. Like, and I get it.
And that, and to be fair, and that's another thing too. Like I was saying before, when we were talking about how Karate Kid 3 was essentially seen as the weakest of the trilogy, they could have chosen to ignore that, like every other franchise does these days. Either ignore a certain installment or ignore almost every other installment except this one particular one. But they didn't do that. They kept it canon.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even better, these Cobra Kai vindicated Karate Kid Part 3. It made Karate Kid 3 look better than it actually was.
Well, yeah, it picked it up. It's going to, and I have a feeling it's going to really pay off in the next few seasons. Like,
yes,
that's my point. Is like, I don't think people have given it enough thought. I don't think, and I love how it came up in the bit where Sam's talking about fear. And, Daniel's like, yeah, I was afraid of this guy once and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I told you about the tournament. She's like, yeah, all the time. And he's like, no, the second time.
Yeah, and that is one little criticism to the third film. It's like, how is he afraid of this guy, Mike Barnes, when he was fighting for his life just a previous film?
I think that's what it is. And I don't think people picked up on that. And I don't think they did at the time, is the trauma that he went through in that second film and the kind of like a PTSD thing he was going through. You know what I mean?
So basically, it wasn't so much Mike Barnes; it was just Mike Barnes was just representing
that shit out. Like, yeah, and not only that, he knows Mike could be like. That's the thing, is infinitely. If you really look at it, like, yeah, him and Johnny would probably take him out if it was a toe-to-toe fight. Mike Barnes would kill him.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, there's no doubt about, like, Mike Barnes, and that's what I hope they bring him back, and that's why I feel like he's a very overlooked villain. Same thing with Terry Silver, is that these guys justify, and not so much justify, but they as far as Kreese goes, they're very much enablers, and they're better enablers than Johnny ever was.
Well, here's the question,
and so they're going to make him even more villainous. Yeah. So go ahead.
If they bring these two guys back, are they going to be the same as they were years ago? Because obviously, we know that one character from the films has changed over the years.
Yeah, and that's a very good point. But you got to remember, Terry Silver was he was even more hopped up on revenge than Kreese was. So you got to imagine he's going to want.
But Barnes is a different story.
Barnes is a different story. And that he's a loose cannon in this, and that's a great point. And that's where I love how they handled Chosen. Now, I wasn't surprised, because I know just from the culture that was most likely the turn he would take. But Mike Barnes is a different story.
Mm-hmm.
You could turn it, go into the whole idea that, LaRusso ruined his fucking life more so than Johnny.
Really?
Like, you could even go down the road that, after that, he was scorned and tossed out of karate and, treated like a piece of shit and what have you. And, even though he owns a percentage of Cobra Kai died out.
He didn't do anything with it, but now they're coming back. Yeah.
So who's to say he's not in a worse place than Johnny ever was, and that makes him even more dangerous?
Heck. If you remember, first episode of season 1, when Johnny was working as a handyman, he and that woman who was bitching at him got him fired because she was a bitch. He's like, Johnny was talking to his boss. His boss was named Mike. How do we know that wasn't Mike Barnes?
Somebody else brought that up too, yeah, or it was you the other day that brought it up, yeah. And Continuum Trek, you're not wrong. No, don't get me wrong on that. But I do feel like that's something that is overlooked from that second film, because he was really, that was a fight that I mean, if you stop and think about it, like, I feel like that was where a few of the good things in Rocky Five was the trauma that he was dealing with after dealing with Ivan Drago. Like, you got to imagine Daniel probably went through the similar kind of things after dealing with Chosen.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I actually for Christmas, my stepdad bought me Creed 1 and 2
Great
to
movie,
DVD. Yeah, and I was really surprised at how good those movies were.
especially Creed 2.
Oh,
Oh my God. Talk
yeah.
about bringing the past back and making it work just right.
I will
Like,
say
that
this
was
though.
great.
I will say this: if they were to do one more Rocky, one more story about Rocky as a
There's supposed
fighter,
to be one coming out. Yeah.
yeah, I still say though, if if he has it to do one more, it should be him having his third match with Clubber Lang because they're already even one apiece.
They've talked about something happening. I think that's a possibility because Sly has brought up another Rocky movie, and I don't know how much he's going to have to do with Creed 3. And the latest rumor is that Michael B. Jordan is going to be directing Creed 3.
Yeah.
And Andre and I have felt like one of the more logical spinoffs here is a Ivan Drago spinoff with his son.
Mm.
And you can even bring Rocky in there. You know,
Mm.
and you can have elements of Cobra Kai in that, you know, like Ivan asks him to help him train his son or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of things you can play with that too. Like, that's the great thing about these universes, and they're kind of like male soap operas. I get it.
Yeah.
They're not, you know, it's the machismo factor, but still.
But they have heart. They
Oh
do
yeah,
have.
totally have heart. And that's the great part about this third season of Cobra Kai was they got me close a couple times in the first two seasons with the little Miyagi callbacks. But this one really got me because I was like, when they went to Okinawa, I knew Daniel. Huh?
You were choked up, weren't you?
Well, just that, specifically in the one scene, but I'll tell you, like, because I knew he had to get some kind of answers from Miyagi somehow. And I knew there was probably a lesson that Miyagi had to teach him yet that he hadn't learned. And I was like, how are they going to do this? I mean, we all knew from the trailer that Kumiko and Chosen were coming back. But I'm like, okay, the way they played it out with the letter, that was the part where I got more than choked up. It literally did bring me to tears because it worked perfectly. And that's how you do it. It didn't, how do I say this? It perfectly captured something that Mr. Miyagi would have said. And not only that, it brought a bit of a different focus to the original film when he's like, when I met Danielson, I was lost. I didn't have any direction. And he was, if you stop and think about it, he was just a lonely guy living in this place. He had no friends. He had no family. And when Daniel came into his life, it changed him. And then Daniel learning that lesson that, Mr. Miyagi didn't have all the lessons or all the answers when he met me, and that helps Daniel feel confident in himself. And then the second part of that is, the part of the lessons that Chosen taught him, which are the more aggressive forms of the karate that Daniel was not ready for when he was a kid.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I'm going to try and keep spoilers to a minimum on this. I know this is called spoiler talk.
Oh, sorry.
No. I know it is called spoiler talk, but I'm definitely going to – I don't want to give away too much for those who haven't seen it and yet are still coming onto the stream. That scroll that Chosen, showed him and, the talks of the more aggressive style. I will say what it wasn't. What I thought it was, but actually wasn't, was how Daniel first found the one scroll that said "Way of the Crane."
Yeah.
Well, I thought the other scroll that Chosen was trying to keep from him was going to say "Way of the Cobra."
That's cool. I get what you're saying there, and
because if you do remember what Mr. Miyagi said in Karate Kid 1 and 2. Karate originated from China. So in a way, you could argue that Kung Fu inspired karate. So and first off, that's one of the reasons why I think, if you were to include elements of the Karate Kid remake with Kung Fu being added to the repertoire, it would work because, it kind of ties into the origin of karate in a way. But, and the thing is,
they've already added other elements without having to, but yeah.
But then there's the fact that Kung Fu, it's based on animals, including the crane and even a dragon and a tiger. And then there is the snake. So therefore, I could have believed that if karate originated from Kung Fu and Way of the Crane is one of the techniques, there had to be other animals involved, including Way of the Cobra.
Oh yeah, and that's been something brought up, another.
And I know that we were told in like Karate Kid 3 and now obviously in this that that Kreese and Silver were taught by some guy from Korea. But who's to say that guy from Korea wasn't either a student of or an actual member of the Miyagi family who just left Okinawa?
I think you meant when they went to Korea or whatever, but
yeah. But you get my drift, though.
I think they learned more after the war. It was the whole point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because like that's the other thing is there's a lot about Kreese we don't know yet.
Yeah, it's hard to take almost everything he and Terry Silver as truth.
Well, yeah, I mean between the two of them, whatever they say, I believe. But like, yeah, as far as like that's the thing, like, and that's where like Terry's much more of a snake than Kreese is, because he's not only a conniver, he's fully motivated, fully how do I put this? His whole thing is, he's getting revenge for his buddy who saved his life, right? Mm-hmm. And not only that, it's implied that he did it more than once, I think he said.
Yeah.
Like, so like we've only seen one time.
Yeah.
So there's probably more to their story, guaranteed. Yeah. And again, we know he's lower than low. Like that was the thing, is the way they painted him is like, okay, I get it. He's an over the top villain in part 3, but it had to go that far.
But considering what we saw Kreese do.
Exactly.
Yeah, you gotta wonder if Silver is really worse than Kreese.
You could be right. Like there's people who pointed out like he's gotten away from acting and all that kind of crap. And, he's a different guy than he used to be. But you know what? If they get him back and he's an actor, who's to say he won't chew the scenery up? And like I said, that's a great way of bringing the character back and giving him some justice in the end, and throwing it in the face of some of his critics. Like have him come back and the great thing is they've given everybody in this series, even the small bit parts, so much chance, and not just second chances, but just so much to do.
Oh yeah.
Like, I mean, with the story, like, I mean, even the little bits that some of these characters have gotten is just that it's so like, even well, I'm not gonna say the name because you want to avoid spoilers, but one of the characters that came back from the first film in this movie that was a key element, and that I've said from the very first season was going to be a key element, even though Andre said, no, they won't do that. I said, guaranteed she's going to be the key element that brings them two together. And I said it, and I was right.
I know. I mean, and that's what I love about season 3. I mean, I had theories and speculations. I had some expectations. Some of them turned out to be true, not all. And some of them, some of the ones that did turn out to be true, didn't turn out to be true the way I expected, but still, it worked.
Exactly, and it was. That was the best part. Is like my prediction was true. The way it played
so
out.
Why the hell is Star Wars doing it this way?
I know. Tell me about it. Like that's what I don't understand, because they can no longer say it's got to be because you don't like Whammons or diversity, because look at Cobra Kai. You have Sam, you have Tori, who are both very strong female characters. You got Miguel. You've got.
I like Sam for a long time, but her actions in season 1 and 2 made her unlikable.
Regardless, like my point is,
now by the end of this season, I'm backing her.
But the point is though, even if you don't like her because of her actions, that's the point. You don't like her because of her actions in the story. You don't like her because she's of her acting, and because she's a Whammons. That's my point.
Exactly.
Like you're invested in the story.
Yes.
Like you're not hating. It's like people didn't like Kylo Ren because the character was poorly written, not because he was a bad guy that you're not supposed to like. You know what I mean?
Kylo had good potential. They just completely wasted it. Same thing with Finn.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Exactly. Like they did not build up the next generation, and a big part of that was just ignoring the original.
There was a hint of build up right in the beginning of Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Kylo Ren came off as very scary and intimidating and seemingly more powerful than Vader. I mean, this guy, first time we see him, he not only freezes Poe, he also freezes a freaking blaster bolt in midair. No, I don't think we've ever seen, that before. And because of that, he came off as seemingly more powerful and threatening than Vader. And then Rey, we got that good montage introduction where, we see her, in the Star Destroyer collecting parts, taking them, getting clean. That was a scene that actually showcased her character. And then, of course, we got Finn, the scared stormtrooper. So they already had like set up these characters in a good way. It's just that by the time Finn met Rey and they were under attack, that's when all good storytelling went out the window.
No, but that's the best part is like I can sit here and I can tell, we can sit here and talk all day about, Sam and Miguel and Robbie's arcs. Like, look at Sam. Like you said, she came, even though Daniel came from meager beginnings, she didn't. She grew up with a silver spoon in her mouth, and she makes a lot of mistakes because of that. They don't avoid that. They don't make her a perfect, whammons just because she's technically our young lead. Because if you really look at it, she is.
Yeah, and heck, that's one of the reasons why I like Miguel in season 1, because, he started off as this meek guy, but he felt in order to get the girl who grew up in a life of luxury, he had to be something he wasn't. And that's why he, like when they went on their first non-date, it was like he was obviously it was teasing about how he's got business deals and such like that, and obviously she saw through it. She figured he was just joking around, but right. For him, he was kind of like trying to impress her because he was like this poor kid from
Miguel
Reseda.
is Daniel. Miguel is Daniel.
Yeah, he's just trying to impress her enough to get with her, and it works out to an extent. But then, of course, her dad is not approving of Cobra Kai, and so she doesn't want Daniel doesn't want her associating with anyone there, not even her friends, Aisha. And so because of that, she like every time she was talking to Miguel, she's like, I'm just talking to my lab partner. So obviously you got to wonder how that was going through freaking Miguel's mind. That's why in the third to last episode of season 1, he went up to the house of the LaRussos to sum up the courage to ask Mr. Daniel to give him a chance and look beyond him being just Cobra Kai. But then he went to the backyard and saw Daniel and Sam eating dinner and having a good time with Robbie, a guy he's never seen, never met, and doesn't know. And yet he's making Sam laugh and smile the same way he did during their non-date, and therefore that's where he felt he had to push himself, and that's why he went too far and became someone he wasn't.
No, but my point is like what I was getting to before was this show is so well done that even though it's a lot like Force Awakens in a sense that we're getting the same characters and stories all over again, we don't realize it. Like I said, Miguel is Daniel. Look at his story. He's got a single mother. He's learning karate from some lonely guy that lives in his apartment complex.
Uh-huh.
And he falls in love with a rich girl from the valley.
Yeah.
He's Daniel.
Yeah.
He's totally Daniel. It's the same story. And then the same thing with Tori is basically kind of like, the second coming of Kreese. Robbie has a lot of his father in him, but we've also seen, elements.
Yeah, that's why I liked season 1. It's that Miguel seemingly was Daniel right off the bat, whereas Robbie came off more like Johnny at first. But then by the end of the first season, their roles swapped.
Exactly.
Miguel became more Johnny and Robbie became more Daniel.
Yeah, and they're doing it so well that you don't even, I'm not saying you don't notice it, but you're not calling attention to it like, oh, they're just ripping the shit off. No, because they're doing it so well, and it's how you take... and this is how the sequel trilogy should have been written, basically.
Yeah, it's a real good revolving yin and yang of characters.
Exactly. Like, you have that yin and yang exactly there. Like, I mean, Rey should have been, okay, she's Luke, but what can you do that's similar or different that is callbacks to that? And the same thing with Kylo. Like, okay, yeah, I
thought Rey was going to be Princess Leia, but with the background of Luke.
But either way, regardless, my point is that like that's where their place is supposed to be in the story, and logically, Luke should have been in the Obi-Wan position, right?
Uh-huh.
No. They turn around and try and shove Han in that role in the first film, right?
Yeah,
where he doesn't belong.
Yeah, and heck, and not to mention in the Rise of Soywoker, they had Han come as a Force ghost. He's not Force sensitive, you dumb schmuck.
Well, they try to say that's supposed to be Leia, actually, but no. Again, by that point, it's broken.
I will say, I will argue this: if non-Force sensitives can appear in ghost form, it should only be if a Force sensitive can see them. So Kylo Ren being a Force sensitive, seeing his father would make sense in that respect, but they never explained anything like that.
My understanding, it's not even really Han Solo.
And that it's just in his mind.
projection from Leia. Yeah.
Um,
And that's what killed her, was doing that final projection, kind of like what killed Luke. I know it's convoluted and stupid.
Very
And that's why
stupid.
I love Karate Kid, and I can even stick up for Karate Kid 3 and Karate Kid 4, because as oddball as they aren't canon breaking.
And well, like I was also saying about the Cobra Kai video game, I kind of got sidetracked from it, going at arguing gameplay. What I liked is that the game actually did predict some aspects of this third season, not all, but some of it. But I also do like the fact that they did take reference to like fighting games like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat,
Can
and
you
heck,
get that on
even
like Xbox or PS4 or what?
Huh?
Can you get that on PS4 or Xbox or?
Oh yeah. It's on Xbox, PS4, and I think it's Switch.
Yeah, I was gonna say Mecha's got the physical media version on Switch, but is it on physical media for the other platforms too, or just?
Oh yeah, definitely physical media for PS4. I was quick to get that game.
I may just have to get it.
I will say this: Kreese is in the game, and guess what? Guess who he plays like? Care to guess?
Chosen.
Nope. He plays as a combination of Bison and Akuma from Street Fighter.
Interesting. Yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
I'm looking it up right now.
Okay. But you know what have you played Street Fighter 2?
Oh yeah, of course.
Then you know how Bison and Akuma play like, right? Bison has like that Psycho Crusher move, and then Akuma has that like he stands into a stiff straight up position, but he like zips across the screen with that blur effect behind him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, basically that's what Kreese has in the video game. He has the Psycho Crusher and the zip across the screen teleportation maneuver.
Now I'm curious what the difference between these are, because I can get the Xbox one for like half the price of the PS4 version.
But yeah, I will say there is a limitation to who you play as in this game. But the thing is, this to me shows what the potential this game could be. I would like to see a fighting arcade style of Karate Kid plus Cobra Kai cross-generational game. Like you can have like say 1984 Daniel in his Miyagi-Do gi versus Cobra Kai Johnny in his red jacket. Mm-hmm. Or even have 1984 Johnny in his skeleton outfit versus Cobra Kai Miguel in his black karate gi, you know?
Right.
You know, like different skins, different costumes, different points in the movies and show. You could even have Aisha versus whatchamacallit, Dutch, if you like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, get as many good characters from the Cobra Kai show and the Karate Kid films, have different skins and all that, and then you can like mash them all together in one game. And check
this out. I haven't played it yet, so I can't really comment too much on it. So.
Yeah, well, like I said, that's not the Cobra Kai game, but I think a potential like a sequel game could be more like that.
Right.
Like let the Cobra Kai game be like a tease for what they could do.
I'm just curious what version I should get now.
Well, I recommend the PS4, but that's just because
I don't have my PS4 actually hooked up right now. That's the other thing.
Well, I've always been biased.
I have one, but
yeah, because as a kid, I never got into the console wars between Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo because I had a Super Nintendo, but I play on the Genesis on the weekends when I visit my dad. But right off the bat, when PlayStation came out, I was biased toward that.
Well, I'm gonna have to make a decision.
But and yeah, the ending was what I was hoping for, and I got it. Was not disappointed.
Yeah, this one was really well paid off for sure.
Yeah, because I mean,
the other seasons definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I know I was glad that we got a hint of it early on, but I'm just glad that we that was meant to be the outcome of this season.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Totally.
but we all know it ain't gonna be an easy ride for either party. So it's obviously there probably might still be a little tension here and there that they got to work through, and not to mention their the respective students. You know, they're still going to have a few probably lingering issues that they got to work out.
Right. Totally. And yeah, I look forward to what's ahead. I mean, we've done a lot of speculating on other streams and stuff, but yeah, it's going to be fun to see what they come up with.
Mm-hmm.
So, I didn't know if there was anything else you really wanted to cover on it, but
well, actually, Me82 just brings up the whole Chuck Norris thing, and like I said, I would like to see the referee from the Karate Kid films, if he's still alive, to come back and play a part in the Cobra Kai.
yeah.
But even so, I would even if they can't do that, I would like to see them actually get Chuck Norris. That would be badass. There's also something else I saw, like a bit of I think it was just another theory video. There was talks of possibly showing a flashback of Daniel and his dad when he was a kid, and guess who they thought would make be good for the role of Daniel's dad for the flashback?
Who's that?
Robert Downey Jr.
Not a bad idea.
Because he was originally going to be cast as Daniel.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. No, that wouldn't be a horrible. No, that wouldn't be a horrible.
No, that would be a great idea. You have Tony Stark as the father of Daniel-san.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he doesn't necessarily scream Jersey to me, but yeah.
I'm sure he could pull it off if he tried.
Yeah. But no, yeah, that wouldn't be a horrible idea.
What do you say? Think we should wind this down now?
Yeah, I think we've said just about everything we need to say about it for now.
Obviously, we didn't go too deep into spoiler talk, but yeah. but we referenced but we knew what we were referencing at least.
Exactly.
Yeah, my stepdad, I've seen the whole season already, but he's only gotten to episode 4.
Oh, wow.
So I'm doing my best not to spoil anything on him.
Well, hopefully he enjoys it. So.
Oh, he's already enjoying it.
Great.
Yeah, he already just saw the episode where he and Kumiko reunited and Chosen appeared at the end.
Ooh, best scene, best bits. He's in the best middle of the best bits.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, believe me, I was eager to get this stream going, but then when I realized he was going to be in the house today, I was trying to figure out a way to do this without, ruining anything. I tried to get him out of the house for at least an hour, but instead he chose to go into the bedroom.
Not for the same reason Brian Griffin did.
I'll be in the basement. Doing what? What do you think?
All right, kids. Well, thank you for having me. It's always fun to talk about Karate Kid and Cobra Kai, of course. And
Timmy! I love when you do that, by the way. That blew my mind. But yeah, thank you all for joining us. Have a great rest of your night, morning, afternoon, or whatever time it is, wherever you are watching this, whether you're watching live or on the restream or the rewatch or whatever it's called. First, Tom, plug yourself.
You can find me on Midnight's Edge After Dark, and hanging out all over the place. I'm here, there, and everywhere.
I think you got more than that.
Oh, as far as channels, Midnight's Edge After Dark. We have Midnight's Edge Live Archive and Midnight's Edge or After Dark Mead Radio, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, several channels. But he had to get Mead Radio because his regular channel was getting problems whenever he played copyrighted content.
Well, it wasn't so much that part. It was somebody was flagging us or something. So,
but nothing more than a bunch of angry, dumb Karens.
Well, because the violation I got was actually a community guidelines violation. It had nothing to do with copyrights.
Yeah.
It has to do with like hate speech and stuff like that.
And worse, they didn't even give you a warning.
No, that technically is my warning. It's like you get this one warning, and if you get another community guidelines strike, you're done.
Yeah.
Like, so it's really like, okay, this is bullshit because it had nothing, like there was nothing, it'd be like if I was going out there and if I was doing hate speech or something like that, I could understand, but it was just playing music. It was just somebody trying to.
How do you draw the line between hate speech and opinion?
That's a debate for a completely different show. But in this case, like I said, like one has nothing to do with the other because I was just playing music. So
Did they at least okay, so there was no hate speech at all during the stream in which the you got
I didn't really say anything. Yeah, like so there was no real talking.
Yeah, it was just
music. Yeah.
So yeah, basically it's a false flagger, and if anything, that flag should be removed, right?
It should, but I have no recourse. Unfortunately, you can't appeal it. That's the problem.
I thought if you remove the video, that might help.
Nope. No, it's one of those things. It's like it's a permanent mark kind of thing. You can't. Yeah.
I got a community guideline for trying to show Friday the 13th, and granted, it was muted. Nobody could hear it, but I was trying.
That might have been for the violence, but were you able to appeal it?
I don't know. Give me a quick moment here. Because I mean, I'm pretty sure
you recut everything and you did the one thing you did, but like, I remember you saying something about it. You sure that wasn't a copyright strike or a copyright claim and not a community guidelines thing?
Yeah, let me find out because I mean,
there is a difference. There's the copyright claim, which is where they'll let it go, but they claim the ad revenue. Then there's a copyright strike where they'll actually take the video down and you get like a strike on your channel and you get like 3 of those and you lose your monetization or worse.
Yeah.
And so on. No, the community guidelines, what that is if you're out there like, saying hate speech and whatnot, like to be clear, obviously like derogatory terms or specifically targeting somebody or what have you.
Yeah. It was my Holiday Horrors Friday the 13th uncut watch party. It was removed for it was removed, and I'm looking at terms of policy. I could submit an appeal, but the thing was, I was going like 10 to 15 minutes with no problems because I hadn't even hit the play button. But then by like 22 minutes in, that's when it just started
were you playing the movie on the screen though? Is that what was going on? Or?
I was playing it on the screen, but it was muted. Yeah. It was muted, and I will admit it wasn't even on YouTube. It was on a different site.
Weird.
So yeah, I just played it with no sound and figured, that was okay because as long as there was no sound, I wouldn't get flagged. But no,
technically that's not enough to be transitional. But yeah, no, that's not even really what I was dealing with. I mean, it's similar, but not the same because whatever it was, somebody slapped it on me and I couldn't even appeal it. So
yeah, and according to the community guideline strikes, because I got hit with it, it said your content was removed due to violation of our community guidelines. Because it's the first time your account isn't affected, you're only warned once, and this warning will remain on your channel. I don't think
it has much to do so much with the copyright as it does with maybe the violence. Somebody might have reported it. That's plausibility.
It's a
community guidelines. Yeah, because it don't matter. Community guidelines are not the same as copyrights. So, yeah, at least in my understanding of the whole thing.
If you got a problem with it, then why is this on YouTube? Why are stuff like this on YouTube at all? Seriously.
Yeah, I'm not the only one who's just targeting you.
I'm not the only one who does this shit, you dumbasses.
I know. Tell me about it. No, it's the same thing I was dealing with. It's like there's a million other people who do like radio streams on YouTube. Just for some reason, I have a good idea who, but obviously I'm not going to point any fingers, or I got a couple ideas of who they could have been. But no, it's just one of those things you deal with on YouTube. So unfortunately, you ruffled somebody's feathers, maybe, I guess. I don't know.
So the fact that I got that community guideline means I
somebody probably had, somebody had to have reported it. I'm saying, yeah.
Well, I know
that's
one.
different than a copyright claim or a copyright.
Well, I'm kind of glad, but at the same time, I'm disappointed because I don't want to risk getting another one of those because I'm trying to grow a channel. I'm not trying to have it sabotaged. So, I mean,
No, I understand, man.
I mean, I'm already at like what 494 subs. Did I gain a few during the stream? I don't know. I didn't check. But yeah, I'm trying to grow a channel. I want to get to 1K. I want to get monetized. I want to earn revenue so that I can not only keep a roof over my head, but also make make my story into a big bestseller. But how can I do that if YouTube's making it difficult and asshole Karens out there are trying to, sabotage me?
Yeah. Well, that's a whole nother stream in and of itself.
I mean, I'm grinding, trying to make a freaking living here, and people want to just go out of their way to keep me down. That's the kind of thing that'll get them. That's the kind of thing that'll ruin their life.
Well, to be honest, there's even people who just get jealous of other people's success on here for that very reason. So,
I'm not.
Again, there's a lot of but there's other advice that I would give you that I'd be off camera or whatever you want to call it. That
understandable.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, yeah, it's a hell of a game to get into. Trust me.
Yeah, I mean, I thought YouTube was supposed to be for everyone, but now it's just for the damn company.
Yeah, it's been getting that way for the last few years.
Yeah, I mean, they're censoring a lot of things, and it's garbage. I mean, how can this platform be allowed to continue if they can't even get their own crap together?
Pretty much. And again, it's more so like you hit the nail on the head. It's not about the independent creators so much anymore as it is appeasing the corporations, unfortunately.
Lucky for me, I actually did get I made a Patreon account back in whatchamacallit 2017. I just forgot I did it. And I just recently rediscovered it. So now I'm re-signed in and I can set it up at any time.
There you go. I had one for my old channels too. So
yeah. I mean, I understand they've been a little they've been screwy lately themselves, but doesn't hurt to have it just so that I can keep in touch with people.
Yeah, all you can do is keep on trucking. So
yeah, because I mean, there are some people who have been getting off of Twitter because of the crap on there, and I still want to try and stay connected with them. That's why I get some of these accounts from all these different other sites.
Yeah. But all right, what do you say we wrap it up and
so yeah, what are your channels again?
Midnight's Edge After Dark, Mead Radio, and the live archive for Midnight's Edge, which you can get to those other than Mead Radio, I think, on the main Midnight's Edge channel. Otherwise, just type in Mead Radio, it should pop up.
Okay. And I am Jeffrey Turner, aka Mega Jetty 1. Right now, it's just Jeffrey Turner, but I intend to try to do a little rebranding that highlights, highlights Mega Jetty 1 and my banner, which is basically Mega Jetty 1 on a Blockbuster logo. So, and in the meantime, my main channel does a variety of different things. Like I do mostly game streams because that's the best way I can grind and build my channel. But I also got some lore channels. I got TechCom, which is for Terminator lore, and I got Home One, which is for Star Wars lore, and I also have Crane Kick for the Karate Kid and Cobra Kai lore. I actually streamed the unwrapping of my red Cobra Kai jacket, which you can see on my profile picture, and then I took that stream, edited it, and then re-uploaded it onto the Crane Kick channel. So I'll do the same with this stream over there. And with that said, if you want to check those channels out, feel free to subscribe there. And also be sure to subscribe to this one. And if you already have subscribed to all these channels, be sure to double check to see if you still are, because we all know that with YouTube these days, the subscribers tend to get taken away from us without any logical explanation. So do be sure to double check.
Yep.
So yeah, with this, be sure to like, share, and all that jazz. Share it with your friends, share it with your enemies, share it with your family. Hell, share it with your in-laws if you like. Give them something if that they might be interested in. And But in the meantime, have a good rest of your evening, afternoon, morning, whatever, whenever. And may the force be with you always. Cobra Kai never dies. There's no fate but what we make. And you can bet on that.